Veronica here, and today I'm going to teach you not only how to sew the looped stretch elastic ribbon by Block, but also why I love these ribbons so much, and you're never going to have to worry about your shoes coming untied on stage again. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Achilles tendon. We all know if we get injured and our Achilles is compromised, that is no good with pointe shoes or ballet in general. So the Achilles tendon actually does not get direct blood supply. So when we are injured, it's going to take twice the effort for that region to recover. When wearing a traditional pointe shoe, the ribbons are not flexible and elastic like the stretch ribbons. So if a dancer ties the shoe improperly and ties it too tight, you're easier to tourniquet off your foot and not get enough blood supply to the Achilles and the toes. So that is why I much prefer the Block stretch ribbon opposed to a traditional ribbon that ties up. I have gone through a couple of Achilles injuries myself, and I can attest that this ribbon definitely makes my feet and my ankles feel better altogether when I'm performing. So now that you know about the health benefits associated with using the stretch ribbon, let's talk about how to sew it so you never have to worry about your shoes coming untied on stage again. Alright, so here you've got my shoe that is already sewn up, and I've got the elastic ribbon looped around the top like this, the stretch ribbon, and then I've got a crisscross design with my elastics on the bottom, as you can see. So I'm going to explain this sewing tutorial as if it was for somebody who has never sewn pointe shoes before, just so that my students and other students can use this as a reference in sewing their first pair of pointe shoes. Okay, so now let's get our supplies gathered. First we need our pointe shoes, obviously. We need 4 pieces of elastic, a stretch ribbon, a pencil, a stitch kit, and I use the bunhead stitch kit, which I will put a link below. I prefer to use this stitch kit because it is much nicer than using traditional thread. Traditional thread is much thinner, you can even see it when you're looking at it, and this is just a lot better because it matches the color of the pointe shoes and it's much more resistant to wear. You'll also need a tape measure, scissors, and optional box cutter for later instructions. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is cut your elastic pieces. So I do about 6 inches per crisscross elastic. So if you want to take your tape measure and then measure out 6 inches, you can do that and then cut your 2 pieces of elastic per shoe. So the next thing you're going to want to cut is your stretch ribbon. And for me, I do 19 inches for my stretch ribbon because I like it to be hugging my ankle and supporting it enough that when I do anything on stage, it's not going to get loose or look wrinkly. Okay, so the next thing is where to put the ribbons and the elastics in the shoe. You're going to want to measure out 1 inch with your tape measure. Put it at the crease, so this seam right here. And measure out 1 inch and then mark inside the shoe with your pencil. I just do a little X here. And then I also make sure that I'm like a 1/2 inch away from that ribbon on the side that goes around the pointe shoe. Because you don't want to pull your drawstring ribbons and then realize that you've sewn into that upper area. Okay, so the next step you're going to take is you're going to take the stretch ribbon and you're going to take 1 elastic. Put them right up against each other and then put them inside of the shoe, making sure that the stretch ribbon is on the outside of the elastic. And I start at one corner beneath the drawstring. And then what I do is I go around in a box, so I make a square around the area, and then I also go diagonal across and make an X through it as well. first side, then you're gonna wanna take that elastic and you're gonna go across diagonally towards the back of the point shoe. And you're gonna do about an inch away from the seam once again. So you can just take your little tape measure and measure an inch away and then mark that there. And then you'll take the elastic and you will fasten it back here an inch away from that seam as well. Okay, so once you've got that side completely done, you should have your elastic diagonally on the shoe and then your one stretch ribbon fastened. You're gonna take your other elastic and you're gonna do the same thing with the other side. So you're gonna take the elastic inside of the stretch ribbon and you're gonna cross like a horseshoe over top of the shoe, and then you're gonna fasten it here a little bit away from the seam, and then you're gonna start sewing. We're done with sewing our point shoe, and you should have a nice horseshoe looking loop like this with your stretch ribbon. So now that we're done, let's go ahead and put our shoes on and make sure that everything fits okay. So you got your shoes on now. Just make sure that you're not really restricted with the elastic and getting pinched off in any areas where you feel like it's tight or your skin is popping out of the corners. So now let's talk about how to tie these lovely point shoes so they never come untied on stage. So what you're gonna do is you're going to take the loop and go up like this and pull it to its maximum stretch. You're gonna turn it one way so that it's crossed like this, and you're going to keep the ribbon flat and pull it down over the foot. After you've done that, smooth it out to go right directly across those elastics, and you're going to turn the ribbon in the back once again. And you're going to this time take the loop around, pull it over the toe, and pull it up. So then you're going to want to take these ribbons and smooth them out again and go all the way up here to smooth out the ribbon. Make sure nothing is bunching or pinching your skin. And voila! This makes it a lot easier when you're doing costume changes, and it also is so much more comfortable for me, and I know a lot of other dancers who I've talked to who use these ribbons. So the next step here, only do this if your teacher or your parents have okayed you to do it. And if you're a child, please do not use sharp instruments by yourself. Make sure your parents or an adult is there to help you. Okay, so for the next part, we will be using a box cutter and doing a little bit of work on the bottom of the shoe to get better balance and traction. So what I like to do with the box cutter is I will actually level down the edges of my shoe so that you're not wavering so much when you're balancing on that middle platform. So all I do is I take the blade and I aim it away from me and I just shave down the edges nice and slightly and try to make it all even. Once you're done shaving down your point shoes, all I do to get a little bit better traction is I go, and if you see like in a block serenade like my shoe, there's like lines there already. What I do is I just literally follow that pattern and I make more lines. So I just go with the tip of the box cutter and I cross all the way down until I hit that C on the shoe. Then I go back up. And then I go the opposite way. And I'm not applying any pressure really, I'm just very lightly going across this with the box cutter. After you've done that part, your shoe should look like this. Alright everybody, I hope you learned something new, and I hope that this helped explain how to tie and sew your point shoes with the stretch ribbon for the most effectiveness when you're on stage and you don't want your ribbons to fall out. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel and become a Patreon member if you'd like to get more exclusive content. See you next time!